What is happening, baby? Welcome back to this week's episode of the Huddle Chat Sports Show, presented by the Huddle Chat Sports Network, Danklyfe brand, and Let's Talk Sports. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to today's episode. As you already know, we're continuing our coverage of all 32 NFL teams and their drafts from 2023, giving a recap, analysis, and a draft grade based upon the future impact that we believe that these young men are going to have on the roster. And I've been getting such an insane outpouring of asking from all of my fans, all of y'all out there, to start with America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, as soon as we hit the NFC East. And that's what we're doing today. So before we get started, as always, I got to thank y'all so much for your time to check out the video. Please, if you don't mind, drop a thumbs up, a like on the video. Let your boy know you like the content. And if you don't like the content, comment below and let me know why. We'll see what we can do to change that. Also, do everybody a favor and hit that subscriptions bar down below at the bottom. Once we hit 100 subscribers here on the Huddle Chat Sports Network, we're going to be giving away all kinds of Huddle Chat sports gear, customized sports gear, all presented to you by our favorite sponsor, Danklyfe brand. Of course, hit that notifications bell so you stay notified to know whenever we're talking about whatever it is that you want to hear about. Just this past week, we did start the fan favorite fantasy football huddle. Cannot wait to make more episodes of that for y'all. And if you're trying to add some extra money into your bank account, check out the High Roller Huddle as well. We help you out with all your favorite betting platforms. Add some money to your bank account. Now, let's get started into the Dallas Cowboys 2023 NFL Draft. But before we do, as always, I gotta extend the invite to you. So now is the time that if you partake, to smoke them if you got them. So fill up your cup, roll something up, and let's get right into the news, baby. So as we get started on our coverage of the Dallas Cowboys 2023 NFL Draft, of course, we got to give a big congratulations to all these young men who were drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. Probably one of the highest honors, I guess, you can receive getting drafted in the NFL Draft. There are few teams that young men want to go to more than the Dallas Cowboys, just from the pure attention that this team gets. First pick that the Dallas Cowboys had in the draft, round 1, pick 27, is going to be Mazi Smith, the defensive tackle from Michigan. First and foremost, the man is an absolute freak athlete. When you look at him based with everybody else in the remainder of the draft class, he was one of the most athletic players in the entire draft class of 2023. He has an extremely massive frame, but he's also a perfectly built defensive tackle. He's tall and lean at the same time, able to squeeze into those holes and cause chaos in the backfield. He was one of the best run defenders in college football from last season, and the Dallas Cowboys really needed somebody to make plays at this position, and I think Mazi Smith is going to be a long-term starter and a fantastic addition to this Cowboys defensive line. The next pick for the Dallas Cowboys, and probably one of their more interesting picks of the 2023 NFL Draft, is going to be Luke Schoonmaker, the tight end from Michigan. They drafted in round 2, pick 58. They basically just got a younger, faster, more athletic, overall better version of Dalton Schultz. And you know the Cowboys have been wanting to increase their versatility at that tight end position, their usability at that tight end position. They used Dalton Schultz as best as they could, but now they're getting a better version. And not only is he better in all of that I've said before, but he's also an absolutely fantastic run blocker. And you know how the Dallas Cowboys scheme works. They need that run blocking ability from their tight end. And it's great to see that. You don't typically see great run blocking come from today's young tight ends. He has an extremely long and great catch radius. His length helps him be an amazing red zone target, and he goes out and gets those 50-50 balls. He could be a little bit smoother in his route running, and he really doesn't give you much to fear at the current moment after the catch. He really gives you very similar flavors of exactly what you got from Jason Witten back in the day. I know you Cowboy fans remember that. One of my mom's favorite players from the Cowboys back in the day. But moving on to the next pick that the Dallas Cowboys had in the draft is going to be DeMarvion Overshown, linebacker from round 3 that they picked up. He's more going to be a depth addition, I believe, at the start of his career. He has absolutely great size, speed, and length that you love to see at that linebacker position. He's used best in space, more of a coverage linebacker. He allowed 0 touchdowns in his coverage when he was playing college football last season. He does have that versatility that fits into the Dallas Cowboys scheme absolutely beautifully. You see how they use Micah Parsons. You see how they use other defenders, and versatility is probably one of the main things that Dallas Cowboys scouts look for when it comes to their defensive scheme. He is better used in space, like I said, and can use a little bit more size and a little more aggression when it comes to the run blocking scheme. However, like I said, he's going to be probably more of a depth addition at the current moment, used more as a role player on the weak side linebacker role until he can grow into a starting role for this Dallas Cowboys defense. Before we continue our coverage of America's team and their draft of 2023, I want to give a big shout out and a big thank you to Danklyfe brand, our favorite sponsor. Danklyfe brand is going to be your home for customized apparel, customized sports merchandise, whether it's a youth team, an NFL team, a basketball team, a high school football team, whatever it is, even a mom's wine club on Wednesdays or a church organization, whatever it is that you're looking to get customized for, Danklyfe has you covered. They've got hoodies, t-shirts, hats, tumblers, anything that you can ask. Hit up my people at Danklyfe brand. Ask them what you're looking for, and Danklyfe will get you hooked up right. Moving back into the remainder of the Dallas Cowboys picks, we're going to be, of course, going to the next pick that they had, which is going to be Viliami Fehoko from San Jose State, defensive end. They swooped up in round 4. First off, he was the Mountain West Conference Defensive Player of the Year for last year. He's an absolutely amazing defender. This pick in particular was a little bit of a surprise pick to a lot of experts, considering the need that the Dallas Cowboys had in other positions on offense. Considering their offensive line right now, a lot of questions. Considering their wide receiver depth, a lot of questions. So the Dallas Cowboys really needed to go in other places, didn't have as much of a need at defensive tackle, but you can see why they stayed pat in this position and took Fehoko from San Jose State. Like I said, he's an amazing defender. He's got the prototypical body you want in a hole stuffing defensive lineman. He's got an extremely great motor and plays with high energy all of the time. He can win with his hustle as well as his skill. He plays just exactly the same amount of energy from play 1 to play 100. So he's going to be a great add for the culture of the Cowboys defense. He could add a little bit more in his pass rushing as far as like a skill set. He's a little bit one-dimensional when you look at him trying to get through the offensive line. However, he's going to be a great pick and growing to be a potential anchor for this Cowboys defensive line. They had a couple of other picks that we're going to kind of fly through. Asim Richardson, the offensive tackle, they drafted in round 5. They finally addressed the O-line concerns like we talked about a little bit ago, but it seemed a little too late. He's going to probably have to really compete. He's coming in as an offensive tackle that he played in North Carolina and most likely going to slide to left guard and join the competition between about 4 different veterans at the current moment to try to answer the questions, solve the riddle that they have at their left guard position right now. We hope that the Cowboys might have found something in Richardson, but ultimately time is going to have to tell us that. Then you also got 6th round defensive back they took, Eric Scott Jr. He did raise a lot of questions for experts. The Cowboys traded up to grab him, and they grabbed him a lot earlier than he was expected to go off, and still haven't taken a wide receiver off the board. There's 6 defensive backs on the roster ahead of the young man, and he's going to have to fight to make the roster. However, somebody who's not going to have to make the roster or fight to make the roster is going to be Deuce Vaughn probably the biggest story and probably the biggest steal of this year's draft. Deuce Vaughn is one of the most exciting picks and most talked about picks for the Dallas Cowboys, especially considering the fact that he was drafted in the 6th round. First things first, of course, it's a family affair. He's the son of one of the Cowboys scouts, Chris Vaughn. So they let him make the phone call. It's a beautiful moment. If you haven't seen it, make sure you check it out. But besides that, he was an outstanding college football player. Believe it or not, he led all of college football in total yards from scrimmage last year, as well as combined over the last 2 years, having the most yards, including Breece Hall's days at Iowa State, including different players, including Bijan Robinson. He outran all of them over the last 2 years, combined total yards from scrimmage. And he's among the best running backs in the country, especially last year. He has a great combination of elite speed, elite quickness, and elite agility. He can get better in pass protection. The problem is he's a little undersized. He's a smaller running back and is ultimately going to be what Tony Pollard was for Ezekiel Elliott for Tony Pollard this season. I think he's going to be a great addition to the Dallas Cowboys roster. When he gets a little bit more size to him, he's going to just get better. And you're going to see Deuce Vaughn really take a role in this Dallas Cowboys offense extremely early, I believe. Deuce Vaughn is not going to be somebody you miss, and we're going to be talking about him on the Fantasy Football Huddle here very soon. Then, of course, last few picks they finally addressed the wide receiver concerns after taking Deuce Vaughn, which really seemed a little bit late. I believe it was their last pick in the draft that they took a wide receiver finally, and he was a fairly underwhelming choice. Ultimately, probably going to be a practice squad pick if he even makes the roster. They added a few more players late in the draft who ultimately won't be more than role players if they make the roster ultimately. The Dallas Cowboys had a very interesting draft, but a very good draft. They filled a lot of needs that they've had needs for a very long time with quality talent at those positions. There was a few questions that they answered far too late in the draft, which is going to lower their grade a little bit, but overall they had a very solid draft. So they're going to get a solid B- from Indo Esmanindo here at the Huddle Chat Sports Network. Thank y'all so much for checking out my coverage of the Dallas Cowboys NFL Draft. If you've made it this far and haven't dropped a thumbs up yet, please hit your boy with a like. And while you're at it, check out that subscriptions bar as well. We're continuing our coverage of the NFC East as we round out the remainder of the 2023 NFL Draft coverage. And we got more Fantasy Football Huddle episodes coming out this week, more High Roller Huddle. So now's the time to really start tuning into the Huddle Chat Sports Network because things are just getting started over here. Thank y'all so much for tuning in, and don't forget, as always, keep your chin up and your attitude down, and I'll see y'all next time. Have a good one.
Thank you.